Thanks for joining us. I am Precious Amayu. Let's begin in Asia. Thailand and Cambodia have signed a landmark peace agreement, formally ending years of intermittent border clashes that have strained relations between the two Southeast Asian neighbors. The accord, brokered by U.S. President Donald Trump, was signed on the sidelines of the ASEAN 47 summit in Kuala Lumpur, the Malaysian capital, and has been hailed as a turning point in regional diplomacy. Under the terms of the peace deal, both countries will withdraw troops and heavy artillery from conflict zones, restore civilian access to affected villages, and establish a joint border commission to oversee demarcation and development. Thailand has also agreed to release Cambodian prisoners captured during recent clashes, while Cambodia will scale down its military presence near contested temples and trade routes. Recent hostilities between both sides claimed more than 30 lives and displaced thousands of civilians. President Trump, who facilitated the negotiations over several weeks, described the signing as a victory for peace and stability in Asia, while Cambodia's Prime Minister Hun Manet called the deal a moment of reconciliation and renewal.
Both countries are agreeing to cease all hostilities and work to build good neighborly relationships, which have already started. 18 Cambodian prisoners of war will be released, and under this agreement, observers from ASEAN countries, including Malaysia, will be deployed to make sure that the peace prevails and endures. I have no doubt that it will.
Now, Global Affairs analyst Collins Wakin joins me for more on this. He joins me from Brussels, Belgium. Good to have you join us.
Thank you, Precious. Thank you for having me.
So this has been hailed as a landmark peace deal for regional stability, but the differences between both countries run deep with decades-long disputes, and it's over border, as you know, and temples claimed by both sides. I'm just wondering how credible this deal is, and will it hold?
Well, I don't know that there is peace. I know that at best there is a ceasefire. But I mean, if we want to call it peace, so be it. So the so-called Trump peace deal between, the two nations, Thailand on the one hand and Cambodia, is, in my view, a fascinating mix of diplomacy, spectacle, and self-promotion. At its core, is these two neighbors who have fought sporadically for a century. I'm talking of a century, so it's something that runs very deep. And so that is where people like us wonder how you can use such unorthodox way to say that a conflict that has endured over 100 years, that because you threaten them of, cutting off bilateral relations, and then out of fear of what might happen when the bilateral, agreement is cut off from the United States, then they sat down on the table and then you call that peace. No. Like the Thailand president actually mentioned, to him, this is a pathway to peace. But at the moment, yes, there is, a ceasefire, and, it's the way it was packaged that actually make it, look like, yeah, this is peace, but actually, I want to emphasize this is just a ceasefire, yeah.
And I picked out the word self-promotion when you were speaking, because if you follow that particular summit, you realize he spoke the longest. And then he spent time really talking about, his efforts at ending wars around the world. And I'm wondering, I know he's been very interested, that's President Trump, he's been very interested in the Middle East and coming up with a peace plan. But why do you think he's inserting himself into Southeast Asian affairs?
Well, I do think that, this has something to do, part of Trump's broader strategy. Trump sees foreign policy through a pure economic lens. Every peace deal doubles for him as a trade opportunity. And for him, as you know, you and I, Precious, have talked about this countless time. It is not hidden that the gentleman is very, very, highly
Transactional.
transactional. By brokering a ceasefire, he earns global attention, he pressures China, and then he opens trade routes for U.S. goods. It's diplomacy in a business suit, if for want of a better phrase to use, very transactional, but extremely effective in the short term. And perhaps that is something to take home here, that in the short term, it is effective, but how long lasting it's going to be is a different kettle of fish.
And I want to stay on that, the idea of trade, using trade, for peace agreements. You will also remember that in June, this particular agreement follows a truce that was reached in July, when President Trump used the threat of higher tariffs against both countries to persuade them to end 5 days of fighting. And I'm wondering, are there risks with this kind of trade-linked peace agreements?
Absolutely. There is no doubt about this. When peace depends on tariffs or trade deals, it risks becoming, conditional peace, sustained only while interests align. True peace needs institution. It needs reconciliation and, local ownership of that peace itself, not just a photo opportunity. That is the danger of what I call, deal diplomacy. It can be fast, but extremely shallow. I mean, this is really, platonic.
And I guess the real test for this will be when Trump leaves office, whether it lasts beyond his exit from office. But I also wanted to ask, because we have a lot of conflicts right now, on the continent, whether it's in Burkina Faso, Democratic Republic of Congo. And we also understand that Ethiopia and Eritrea have started their conflicts all over again. And I'm wondering, is there something, as much as you say it doesn't last, it is just quick, but is there something that African can learn from this model?
Well, yeah, obviously, there's a lesson, but not only a lesson, Precious, there is also a warning here for Africa. The lesson is that economic leverage can move parties faster than moral appeals. That much has got, to be made clear. The warning, however, is that external mediators must not substitute internal political will. Africa's peace, architecture, from ECOWAS to the AU should integrate economic diplomacy tools while avoiding dependency on, great power theatrics, such as the ones that we have seen Trump unfold and continue to unfold. So it will not surprise any of us if in the coming weeks, Trump turns his attention to Ethiopia and, both the Great Lake region of Africa or the Horn of Africa, and then issues one tariff threat or the other, and then beats everybody back into line, and then announces Trump has done it again with his magic. Yes, that might happen, but it remains absolutely unsustainable. I mean, in my part of Nigeria, there is a saying that something that you cannot help, you agree out of fear. And so those who are agreeing,
Mr. Weke, I just want to...
are doing so out of fear.
And I'm wondering if that also, can be said of all other peace deals, especially when you look at the peace deal between Hamas and Israel, if that's also, a fear-driven, peace deal. And then perhaps maybe that's why we're not seeing that kind of agreement, because the Russian leader is also Putin, is not one that can easily be threatened.
Absolutely. Well, there is a bit of a difference, with the, Palestinian case, because, some of the, known institutions were used. I want to also believe that more, foreign powers who have interest both in global peace and national interest in that region, they were one way or the other involved. Now, you also have to take into consideration the fact that Trump was more or less, losing support with, mounting numbers of countries actually recognizing, the state of Israel and suing for, the two-state solution. So there are more fundamentals in that one. But, this depends on, implementation. If Asians take ownership and local border communities benefit with mine clearance, trade corridors, and people-to-people projects, then Trump's theatrics might have a silver lining. Otherwise, it will be remembered as, a transactional truce packaged for the evening news and nothing more than that.
Thank you so much for your interesting take, as always. A pleasure to have you on. Collins Nweke, Global Affairs Analyst.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.